January 8th, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. There was no economic news that I could see or find to move the markets today, but overall the chart looked like it was a pretty strong rally. As you can see, it went from 47.15 and pretty much hit a high of 4,800. 4803. So you could say it's roughly an 80-point move in one day from the lows of the pre-market to the highs, which is a pretty substantial move. What happened was the market looked like it was kind of selling off briefly, and here it looked like it was going to be a range, and then it just started a very slow, very deliberate grind with some pullbacks that weren't negligible, weren't trivial. I mean, they were kind of these little pullbacks. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the entire picture, the pullbacks were very tiny. So it's a very, very strong rally today. I only took one trade today, but I did see, I think, probably looking at my notes, three other possible trades. There were other trades that I saw, but I didn't mark them because I'm just trying to get better at not cluttering up my chart. But I have it for my own notes, but I didn't want to clutter up the video. So this is what it looks like today. I'm going to go into the trades. In the pre-market, I marked the pre-market highs and pre-market lows. Initially, I thought it was just going to be a range day. You did have this very big move up, a pullback, and I was thinking maybe it's going to make a measured move with another leg about this size, or it's going to hit this resistance, but this resistance only made it's not a clear, strong resistance at this point because it only touched once. So on the open, prices continue moving up, and so when it started hitting here, I was wondering if it was going to start bouncing back down. It looked like it paused briefly, deciding whether it wanted to keep moving up or down, and it finally broke up and over. It breaks out, creates a new high. It's a first entry long, creates a second entry long. Now, this second entry long, this is an almost setup because when I saw this in real time, I was thinking maybe there's going to be a second entry long, but I wasn't thinking there's a trade yet necessarily because it's a break of this green channel. It made one attempt up just briefly right here, and it could be making a second attempt up. Or you could count this as just one. Let me just kind of, or you could count this as just one leg down so far, and it would make a second attempt up. So what I really wanted was this to come down, touch the EMA, and bounce back up to make me feel more confident, because even though it's a first entry long here, you could also just see this as one big leg down. So I had to wait. And of course, when it bounced back up, definitely it feels too late to try to chase this because you're running into the localized high, or actually the high of the day. And then it comes back down. So you could say this is one entry, and excuse me, you say there's a first entry long, but it already made a new high, so now it's debatable whether it's going to push up again. It breaks down, kind of chops around. Now, I didn't have this purple channel drawn yet, and I drew it later, but it comes into play, and if I had discovered this purple channel and purple trend line, at least marked it, I think there would have been another trade which is coming up. So it looks like it's kind of ranging right now. It hits a really apparent resistance here, and I'm wondering if it's going to break out through or if it's going to come back into the pre-market highs and lows, back pretty much into this range. So I'm just waiting patiently and watching. It creates a new high. It's a first entry long, pulls back, creates a second entry long potential. So you don't really know it's a second entry long yet, but it's a really nice signal bar. It did have a triple test. So I saw this as one touch, two touch, three touch, and I did see this as first entry long, second entry long. The thing was, if I had this purple channel drawn earlier, then I think I would have taken this trade because there would have been three key entry points. Unfortunately, this purple trend line channel didn't exist yet, and also would depend highly on how you drew it, because if you say you took it from here, then, and you matched these two touches, then clearly you have a break now. So breakouts, first breakout or just breakouts tend to fail, so it could be moving back in. So if you had something like drawn here, you could be wondering whether it's going to move back in or if it's going to continue downwards. But if you had drawn it correct, or if you just drawn it like this, then I think there was a good trade here with enough room to the EMA as well as the top of the range. So I missed it. Turns out working pretty well. So prices keep moving, comes up. It looks like it's consolidating again, and prices are just kind of moving. It kind of looks like it's a new resistance up here. Here I see a new high, so technically, since these are all matching highs, you take the new high here. It's a first entry long, pull back, creates a second entry long, and again, there's a triple test. So its second entry long isn't confirmed yet. You really don't know that it's a second entry long, but you do know it's a potential triple test. But I didn't really like this candle as a signal bar, especially after you wait it and you watch this candle print, and it's just not very convincing either. Then it creates a third candle. So here, definitely, I'm just glad I waited because this first candle tells me, okay, if you're looking for second entry long, definitely wait. Then you do have a confirmed second entry long, but this candle is pretty bad looking. And then another one, even though it's trending higher, it's just telling you, this is potentially a setup, but it's not a high probability. If you get in and it works, that would have been fantastic, except it felt like it would have just been an iffy trade. However, it creates a higher low. So it's a new high, first entry long, second entry long, creates a higher low, which I do like. It closed very strong. So I wanted to get enter on this trade. It confirms the second entry long triple test and this higher low. So I thought, okay, this is a trade I want to take, but I want to make sure that it kind of breaks above this guy. So it breaks above, but it kind of stalls for a little bit. So then I thought this is a good enough trade because it does look like it's pushing back up, and I enter pretty much at the high of the previous higher low right here. So you can see the blue arrow. And it also creates a new low, first entry short, second entry short, failure. So if you weren't in the trade yet, you do have a setup that comes up as a second entry long, second entry short failure. The thing I wouldn't have taken this second entry short failure because when it closes, you don't have much room to the top now. And clearly you have something that got rejected 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. So to push it up to here felt very risky. So if you didn't enter on this higher low, I definitely wouldn't have entered here. But I did mark it just for myself, just to see. Prices continue. It looked like it would have worked out. Keeps chopping up. And it consolidates. It falls into what I believe is this yellow channel. And you don't really have any good clean entries. You do have a new high here. It's the first entry long, but the count resets. So technically, if you have a second entry long here, or you only have a first entry long here. I count it as a first entry long after the count reset. Bounces around. It hits this resistance and starts coming back down. It was at this point, that's when I started playing with this channel, this purple one being the channel, because throughout the day I was trying to make various things fit, like here, excuse me, and maybe here. I was just trying to play around with a bunch of things to make the channel fit, and then this one occurred. I thought, okay, there's one touch, two touch. It looks like this is looking pretty good as a channel to play. I saw this green channel is the first break of this yellow one, so it moved, breaks. Keep in mind the yellow channel still wants to test its high, so I'm just watching. It looks like it's broke, and of this green channel, it also wants to test its low. So it broke out, made one attempt down, and meets and exceeds the extreme. So of this green channel, following trend line rules, it made the bottom. It's coming back up, and now I'm still thinking overall the character of the market is bullish, so it probably wants to test the highs of this yellow. So it comes back down, it breaks, and I saw this as a new high, first entry long, pullback, second entry long visually, but also it creates a new high, first entry long, second entry long on a smaller time frame. And I thought after looking at this, I didn't take it at the time. This is probably a possible trade because it's the break of this green down channel. It already made the low, so it's probably going to make its way back up because this high still needs to be tested. This is a pretty decent signal bar. It's pretty bullish. Even though it's below the EMA is kind of flattening. What it would have been perfect is if this candle or this one came down, touched the purple, and bounced off. Then it would have given me more confidence because since it didn't quite touch the purple, it leaves me questioning whether there's enough sellers to still push it down to touch this low. But in hindsight, I think this would have been a worthwhile trade because this candle here, this like very top heavy hammer candle, is only 5 ticks. So it would have been worthwhile to take this trade. Pushes up, kind of keeps chopping around. This blue line is the yesterday's high. So I just drew that. I'm going to go ahead and delete this for now because it doesn't help me right now. Prices then continue moving. It falls into what it looks like this orange channel. I originally tried to have it touch here and line it up, but it looked like it fit best, ignoring this small little overshoot and starting the trend here. You do have a new high, first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long that's hidden right here, but I don't like the signal bar because it's a new high, first entry long pullback on the life of this candle, pushes down and pushes back up. So it's a second entry long that's hidden here, but I didn't like the setup. Prices then continue moving. You also have a new high here. First entry long, second entry long. It's a terrible signal bar. If this was just a little bit better, maybe there was been a trade, except it's also pushing toward the high now. And it already met the high of this yellow channel that broke out. So I was just a little hesitant, even though it is being supported by this orange up channel. Prices has an overshoot, continues chopping. Again, you have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. This is a terrible signal bar to go long. Price is coming down, then it hits and confirms this purple channel. So I'm pretty happy with this purple channel now because it has one touch, two touch, three touch confirmation. Technically, you have two touches here. Depending on how you drew it, you might have been able to squeeze in a third touch. But I'm just pretty convinced that this purple channel is working out pretty well. Moves up, bounces. You do technically have a new low, first entry short, second entry short, but taking a short on such a very clearly bullish day feels very dicey. It'd be counter trend. You do have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. I didn't like the second entry long signal bar because it's an inside bar, and there is enough room to scalp out, but I just didn't like it in the middle of nowhere. I needed this actually to come back, touch the EMA, or at least touch the orange line, just to make me feel confident that it's going to bounce back up, but it was inside bar. So here, you really don't know what it's going to do. It could continue consolidating for a while. The fact that it went up here, you don't know that beforehand. So if you did take the trade, I would consider it more of a lucky trade. Here I do see a new high, first entry long, second entry long. I thought this is a possible trade too, because this is bouncing off the EMA now. It didn't quite bounce off the orange up channel, but it is a very strong signal bar. And here, unlike the previous setups that didn't mark, there is enough room to the highs. And it's a very nice setup. I didn't take it though, unfortunately. And it's also clearly some kind of support here, so it's in a range. So it would have worked for a 1-point scalp. If you hung in there a little bit longer, depending on where you put your stop, you might have gotten stopped out on this bar. And if you kept it down here, looks like you would have just skirted by. Price and then continue moving up. It breaks out of this orange channel, and I was trying to make this orange channel fit more because it's still within the purple channel, but I thought, okay, well, maybe there's this intermediate smaller green channel that it's obeying. I don't see any clear second entries. It's all first entries at this point. It's also very far from the EMA, so clearly you're in a very strong bullish move up. So I was looking if there's any kind of bounce off of this green support. I started looking for it after this happened because here you clearly have a confirmed green up channel. So, seeing this, it does feel premature to just suddenly take a long because you already hit the top of this purple channel, which I've given respect to and believe it's in a channel. So it could be an overshoot, come back down, either bounce off the EMA or come back down here. So it felt like you should wait here. But as prices continue moving up, you clearly have this green channel acting as what's important. So then I was looking for any reason to take an entry long. There was one here, but I didn't like how close it was to the high. There's a new high here, first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here. I just didn't like the signal bar, even though it is confirming this green channel. It's bounced back up. If this signal bar had just been a little bit better, I think there would have been a trade here. It would have been a very quick scalp though. Then prices continue moving up. It breaks out of the green channel, pops around. You do have a new high. First entry long, second entry long was a bad signal bar to go long on. You do have a visual second entry long because I saw this as a break of the green channel. One down, one attempt up. This could be the second attempt up. So it's one push down, first attempt up, visual second attempt up because you do have technically have a third entry long. So it's a new high, first entry long by the count. Second entry long happens here. Then you have a third entry long. But I saw it as a visual second entry long. So it's an almost setup because visually it's a good second entry long. But after the break of the green channel, this could be the second attempt up. I didn't like that it closed below the EMA because previously, for the last hour and a half, the EMA has not been touched. It's been respected. And finally, even here was respected. Finally broke through. So this made me hesitate, thinking like, well, this feels dicey. And then it does close above, but it didn't close closed decisively above it, but if it was more of a hammer, leaving no doubt of a pullback, then I think this would have been a trade I would have entered right after this candle, probably at the high of this candle. And it looked like it would have picked me up and it would have kept moving. It was just that this candle wasn't good enough in my eyes. And prices continue moving, it consolidates, kind of continues moving up, kind of keeps chopping around. There's a big push up. And here it's clearly too late in the day now. This is second entry long here, but this is an inside bar and I just don't like it. But it's also too late in the day. The last 10 minutes of the day, there's not I mean, price action does accelerate that I've noticed in the last 10 minutes, but it's just it was kind of like, if you didn't take a trade since then it was just count it out and just work and trade the next day. Then prices then continue moving up and it moves into the close. And in the aftermarket, well, it hasn't opened up yet, but it looks like it's trending back down. So it's very interesting what happened today. It's a very strong rally. And there was a few times to enter. And unfortunately, I missed out on these asterisk ones, which I thought were probably decent setups. And so hopefully that was helpful.